The Retro Buzz starts right after this.
Hey guys, it's Friday, so it's time for the Retro Buzz. And again, we're back, and this guy, he just can't be patient. Glenn Planamento, and he is so happy. No, well, now, Glenn, you got to show the other two. You got to show the other two, because he didn't just buy one, but he got the core.
My PC Engine isn't here yet. It's still stuck in custom, so I only got the two right now. But I do have my 3D printed little mini.
So technically you have four.
Technically 5, but the other one's put away. So remember, I have 5. You said it yourself. I have 5.
You got to count the real one.
Yeah, that's it wasn't enough that he had to make one.
Yeah.
Right. And we'll make more. That was just the prototype one. I got to make a couple more.
And Doug and myself are sitting here empty-handed, and we
nothing. Got nothing.
That's why you don't pre-order.
That's all we got.
Since what, Doug? July? What did we say? In
July 17th.
July.
Yeah. That's when I ordered mine. So thanks, Glenn, for proving us good e-commerce people wrong and calling us idiots.
That's right. You never pre-order. Pre-order for suckers. You wait. You just do it.
And
every day.
And I thought it was bad that I did it like 2 months ago when I'm talking to Doug in February. He's like, "Yeah, just order it," and then we both get.
So the funnier part was both of you like, "Glenn, you got to do it. You got to pre-order it. Glenn, you got to pre-order it. You got to do it." And here they are.
Yeah. Well, here's another guy, our special guest today. We've got Patton Plays, and
Patton Plays.
He actually has one too.
Dun dun dun.
Now you didn't go the eBay route, Patton. So tell everybody how you got yours.
Right. I just went to Amazon Japan, which actually Rick67, one of the guys on my Discord, he's a big supporter of the channel, told me, hey, people are getting theirs from Amazon Japan. So I went there, signed up for it, and I got it really quick, very fast.
Yeah, you said what, within 10 days, and I still got something from the Ukraine.
10 days. I just looked it up. I think it was March 28th was the order. No, I'm sorry, March 20th, and it got to my front doorstep April 2nd.
Wow.
So very fast. Yeah.
So we're going to talk about this a little bit as the show progresses, but I know, Glenn, you have some news stuff. You have 3 new news articles that you want to go over real quick. We've got some news that we want to talk about. So I'm going to flip it over to you.
Well, only maybe 2 are news articles and 1 a Glenn rant.
Oh! You know? I need to make a graphic for that.
The soapbox.
Right. So one of the things is we have the official At Games fan page. We get close to 3,000 subs on there, and when we do hit 3,000 subs, At Games is going to have some giveaways. I think they'll give away 2 Blast units and 1 of the Legends consoles. Not the Ultimate, the Legends Ultimate, one of the small little Legends plugins. Flashback. Thank you very much. So that's one of the things that's coming up. So if you're not a member currently of the official At Games global fan page, please join us. We have P-Dubs, we have me, Patton Plays, everyone's on there. Come join us, come subscribe, and maybe you could be one of the lucky winners. We're getting very close. Another news thing is really from a company called TerraOnion. And now, for people who don't know TerraOnion, they manufacture some very high quality, but also not very cheap add-ons for your classic consoles. They came out with a add-on for the Sega Genesis that'll let you play Sega CD games and all the ROMs. They came out with one for the TurboGrafx 16 PC Engine that plugs into the back that lets you play the original games plus play the ISOs. Again, they're about $300 a piece. They're not cheap, but they do go out of stock quite often, but they're very high quality. But they just announced today something new. For people who have a Dreamcast or a Sega Saturn, there are currently other ways to get it to play ROMs off of an SD card, but they're coming out with one that's a dual mode, meaning that You could drop it into a Dreamcast, or you could drop it into a Sega Saturn. You can use an SD card, or you can use, I believe, a SATA drive, like a SSD. It's taking pre-orders right now, but again, I already told you what happens when people do pre-orders. Just saying. But I will say that TerraOnion does make some high-quality stuff. They're always saying you get what you pay for, and they do come out with very high-quality stuff. Now, what they do is their technology is mostly based on fully programmable gate arrays, FPGAs. So even when they release it, if there is something buggy or glitchy, they can update the code. And again, this is not emulation. An FPGA is recreation. So they're basically making chips that emulate the proper parts of the equipment. So I have high hopes for what they're coming out with for their Dreamcast and the Saturn. But I will say that it's not the cheapest thing out there. And you can go and get clone drives now, like EverDrive clones on eBay from China that do most of the same stuff. But again, usually TerraOnion is usually you're talking about your Hyundai Elantra versus going towards your, Elon Musk Tesla car, but you're paying for it. I think there was three things. The last, right, exactly. And the last one is just a rant. It's not really a really bad rant. Metal Jesus, I love Metal Jesus. I don't talk to him a lot, but when he actually responds to my messages, I'm always like, thank you. But he did have a video today talking about all the minis, because he got his, the TurboGrafx 16 mini, and he was rating all the minis. And one thing he said there was just incorrect, and I have to correct him because it has to do with my fellow Atari company. So he actually said today that Nintendo with the NES Classic kicked off all these minis, and that's completely not true. Actually, the Atari mini, even before At Games got involved, 2004 was the original Atari flashback mini. It was mini before they called it the mini. So they were well before the curve. Right, this is the video right here. And I could agree with everything he pretty much said here, except for the NES Classic did not start it. Maybe it made it more popular. That's possible. Nintendo seems to, throw the Nintendo name brand in something, it kind of shoots it up. Right now, Atari with, to be quite honest, the stupid things they've been doing as of late, I can't blame people for not saying Atari was the first with it. But I'm really disappointed in the current Atari. And again, I said it in the pre-show. To me, the current Atari is the Kathleen Kennedy of companies. That's it. Don't my rant.
That's it? That's the best you can do?
Man.
Well, I don't want to tell you. It's Patton Plays. I want to take up the whole episode with my rant. I'll do it.
So now that he's got that out of his system,
I do.
And until somebody brings up Star Wars in the post show, one of the other things that I think we should bring up is about the Nintendo Switch, right? I was talking with you guys in pre-show a little bit about it. Back in January, Nintendo came out and said, no new hardware. We're not planning on doing this, when Xbox and Sony said, we're bringing new consoles. The recent update, there was a version 10 for the Switch that came out, and we've seen a lot of them not be around, right? You can go to the store, you can't find them. Well, there was an article that came out that leaked that Nintendo, in the update, found that there was like a dual screen Pro model. To your comment, Doug, earlier, that the Pro model, which I don't know how much I believe of that, because it's like having two Switches at the same time. You might as well just buy two, so the price is going to reflect that. But there is a new model coming, and that would kind of explain the lack of Switches that you can buy right now. Some were saying that they're trying to empty out the current stock. Maybe it's just a bump up. Maybe it's, a little bit better graphics. Maybe it's a little bit better battery power. I kind of want to get everybody's thoughts. What do you guys think about this? Do you think there's some truth to this, or do you think, we'll start with Doug. What do you think that? You think Nintendo's trying to slip that in there because of the economics and how everything is?
It seems to me like a super strange choice if they do go with like a dual screen thing, because that's essentially what the 3DS was, and that's what they discontinued to kind of go in favor of the Switch, because the Switch essentially did everything the 3DS does, even better. It's portable. It's got a beautiful screen and everything. You don't need two screens. You've got a nice wide play field and everything. So I'd be really perplexed to see them go back to having dual screens. I wouldn't be surprised to see them have an upgraded, beefier version of the Switch for those hardcore enthusiasts that maybe need a little more power in their games. But I don't know. I'm going to take all this with a grain of salt and take it as speculation, because Nintendo, typically is just very, very, very tight-lipped about everything and anything they do. So I'd be very shocked to see something like this, something this weighty as far as their product development cycles, being able to get out in the open like that without them knowing or allowing it. Because I mean, they're notorious for shutting people down that leak, share any kind of information. So the fact that somebody's not getting black bagged and thrown in a van right now over that information kind of makes me think that maybe it's not as serious, or at least the details aren't exactly as specific as what that article entailed.
Unless somebody did get black bagged and thrown around somewhere and we just don't know about it.
Very true. Very true.
That could be.
They're
Patton,
pretty good at that.
Patton, do you agree? Do you agree with that? Do you think we're going to see a new one, or do you think that we already saw the new one for this year?
Are you talking about the Lite? Because actually, my daughter has the Switch, the original Switch that came out. My son has the Switch Lite.
So there was two switches that connected to TV. They had the original one that my son has as well. Then they came out with an all red box that had better battery performance. I don't know if everybody saw that, but I think it also had a few other tweaks to it, a little bit faster. That's the one that everybody's selling for $450 right now, but it was the same price, and they kind of pushed away that original release model. So the original release model box was kind of white in the middle with the sides like the Switch. Now the new one it's an all red box. Plus the light.
I don't know too much about them, but I don't think the Lite can connect to the TV.
Correct.
But what you were talking about, the dual screens, is that from some kind of official source, or is that just like talk about somewhere? Because it wasn't the whole reason, or at least from what I remember, with the DS, the 3DS, it wasn't a gimmick per se, but like wasn't that because one of the screens was a touch screen? But isn't the Switch screen already a touch screen? So
yeah,
I don't really get the whole reason behind a dual screen, especially when the screen on the Switch is really great and it's already a touch screen. So what's the benefit to them having a dual screen system?
It's a step backwards if you go to a dual screen system.
Yeah.
Currently,
one of our buddies, RGT85, actually posted a video as well where they actually showed kind of like that dual screen purpose, like with doing it. So go check out his video and you can kind of see what I guess the thought is behind it. Again, I don't know, to your question about is it an official source? There's a lot of people that are unofficial sources that are posting, but there was a few.
Not official, but reliable source. Is it a reliable source, or is it like Kotaku?
No, no. But they did say that Nintendo semi-confirmed / confirmed it. So I don't know what that means.
Well, I mean, if they wanted to move forward, they should have just made one with 3 screens, triple screen, Switch, or a screen on the back. That way you can.
It's the Gillette razor war all over again.
Is a better system,
more
right?
razors, more blades.
Yeah, exactly. You need 5 screens.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Glenn probably has every single one: the first iteration, the second iteration, and probably the Lite. So, what's your take?
Well, for me, Nintendo is definitely known as a company that does try to innovate. I mean, of all the new companies out there, Nintendo is the only one I can really think of that actually tries new things, tries to do things differently, try to see what sticks. So I think it's possible. I don't think having a secondary screen, right? Yeah, I love the Virtual Boy. I got 3 of them.
Me too. Actually, I like it a lot.
It's great. That's another machine. Again, I'm just giving a tangent. Another machine that too many people just said was bad, and people just bought into. But in any case, we'll talk about that another time. But the point is, Nintendo is known for some innovations, and I think having a secondary screen, depending what they're using it for, could actually be good. I mean, the 3DS, the DS, it was a nice design. I mean, yes, one was a touch screen, but having the 2 screens, having your game playing one and having your maps like in a Zelda game, there's some things that are just better than having it all in one single spot. So I think it's possible. Maybe Nintendo was kind of dropping a seed, and then all this stuff's been happening that maybe things get pushed back. That's my personal opinion. I do think that what's going on currently in the world is going to throw a lot of things out of whack. Look at the movie. I just watched a video today about AMC and these movies and how some films like Trolls, which is no loss here, but right to streaming, and they're thinking that might be something that goes down the pipe. So there is huge shifts in the industry, not just in the gaming world, in everything. So companies certain things are going to come off the table for a while. They may not see now until 2021 because of it. So who knows? Do I think it's possible? I do. Do I think it's going to come out this year? I don't.
So for anybody that's holding out, like myself, for a new one, because I was going to get the new updated one with the red box, when it comes back at normal price for normal people around May, June.
You wanna play
You're
that
what's
Glen
that?
game? I say you don't want to play that Glen game where you buy it for a premium off eBay?
No. I'm sticking with you on this. I'm gonna wait. I'm a patient man. I will wait for it for the most part. Yeah, look at this guy. Like I said, he's probably got 3 or 4 of them. But I do want it to connect to the TV. Otherwise, I'd probably get one of the Switch lights. I want to have it down here in the room. So I was just curious. I didn't know what everybody's thoughts were on that. But
The thing with Nintendo also is that, they're, I mean, I know you guys joke about like Android and Apple, but they're kind of like the Apple of the
We're
video
not
game
joking.
world.
We're not joking.
we're not joking.
I wish you were joking. No, but they're kind of like the Apple of the video game world, where like they can put anything out except for the Virtual Boy at the time, and people will buy it. I mean, they don't have to follow any kind of schedule that the other companies do. They can release it. They could do a March release and it'll do great.
You're right.
And like I said, they actually are the only of the main 3 players that innovate and try to do something new, even if it's, even if they think it might not, go well, they'll still try something new. And I really respect Nintendo beyond that, because Sony and Microsoft, I still have a PS3. I haven't gone anywhere past that. But the most, the upgrades they do with theirs, like graphics, power, processor. They don't try anything new. Here's a controller, here's a system, and there's nothing wrong with that. But Nintendo is known for being around for so long, and they try new things, and that's why they're in my opinion, at least, fan-wise, they're on top. They may not always sell more than Sony or Microsoft, but Nintendo is well known way more than Sony and Microsoft.
Right, and that's how Atari was. I got to say Atari again.
I was just going to say
when it started. When it started, because that's what Atari was. Atari innovated controllers, different chipsets. That's what they did. Then Warner bought them and it fell apart. But Nintendo's been consistently, since they came on the market with the NES, they put Robin there to make it look like a toy, just to get people to get them in the stores. And of course, I bought that launch day again. TSW, TSW back in the day.
Even the glove, but
right. Well, the glove wasn't Nintendo. That was Mattel. But the fact is that Nintendo does try things. What Patton said a second ago, I agree with. The Xbox line and the PlayStation line, they're basically just sticking a PC in a box, better graphics and power, which is fine. When they had to connect, that was, I thought, a good trend to go with. And then with the PlayStation had the globes, whatever they were called, those hand things. They had
the Move PlayStation.
Right. So they were trying, and then they just gave up on it. They just flat out stopped it. So Nintendo is still a company that will, whether it be a platform game-wise, something new, or hardware, they will at least give it a try. If it takes off, a lot of times they'll stick with it and try, like they did with the Wii U, which I think was kind of dumb. They had the Wii,
but
the
that
Wii
was
U
the
had
test
really
for the Switch.
There was no place for it.
Yeah.
There was really no place for it.
That was the beta for Switch, because I got the
It
Wii U,
was.
and I was like, this needs to be portable, where I can sit in my car or on a plane and play this.
And they just
well, you know what? It was
couldn't
still
get there
okay
with
for what it
prices
was.
yet at that point.
Right. The range at the house was too limited. My son, if we went like one room out, it stopped. It just disconnected, stopped working. If they could have got the range a little bit further in the house, it would have been better.
PlayStation had that though with the Vita. I was able to sit 3 floors up, and I played my PS3. That was one of the reasons I bought it. It wasn't for the games in the beginning. It was so I could remotely play, because at the time I didn't have the room and I didn't have all stuff set up. So if the kids were doing something, I could sit there and play it on there.
But props to Nintendo. I mean, they found a way to sell people cardboard this year, or the last year and a half.
I still have not.
I love the Labo stuff. The VR Labo stuff. I got that for my daughter for Christmas. I love it. Even though it's taken me like 24 hours to put all of it together, like combined, it's just cardboard. I mean, it's decent quality.
Wait. We got to ask Patton, we got to ask Doug. How many of the sets did you buy? And be honest.
I bought one. I bought the Robot Kid. Hey, I'm a Lego nerd, so
no, that's cool.
That sounded right up my alley. I was like, sweet. But when I got it, then I was like, I just bought some cardboard and this backpack.
$100 cardboard.
Yeah, $100 cardboard, and this backpack's not really fitting my adult-sized man shoulders, and I probably should have rethought this. That was
and it
my
takes
takeaway.
forever to put just
So,
one together.
Doug,
Like
did
the
you
goggles,
watch-
it's like an
Did
hour.
you watch
or
the Lego
something.
Masters?
Oh, absolutely. Religiously. That's like the only reality TV that I watch.
Wow.
Sorry, Patton, I talked over you. I got to learn to zip my lips sometimes. Patton, please.
Oh, that's
Please.
No, I was just saying, like, it takes a long time. And I remember when I was putting some of these together for the VR set, I was like, the way they fold together, I mean, it's really like impressive. Like, I figured they had some kind of, NASA, well, NASA's not Japan. Anyway, some kind of engineers to set all this stuff up, because I'm thinking, like, this folded this way. Like, there's no way this is going to turn it into a freaking bird. And look at that, I just made a goose. It took me 5 hours, but I made a
They
goose.
called Takara Tomy, the people that made Transformers, and like, hey, we want to make Transformers out of cardboard. How do we do it? And they're like, we'll send over the engineers.
Oh, there you go.
Cardboard
Very cool.
in disguise.
Origami. all that stuff.
$100 out of your pocket.
So I got a really good score this week. I shared with
You're
you guys
married,
a couple. What's that?
You're already married. What are you talking about?
Well, besides that,
Oh.
I mentioned to you guys a site that I quite frequent it for retro consoles, and I managed to score this complete in box with all the mini pamphlets, all the warranty cards, everything. The box you can see is in like mint
Great
shape.
condition. Yeah, especially for it to be an all black console. Yeah,
I
Or
showed
all black box. Yeah.
I showed Doug. I said, "Do you think I got a deal?" And Doug's like, "You got a steal."
Oh, I'm jealous. Yeah, I was super
Actually,
jealous.
all the ones you've gotten at a steal price. Everything you've gotten so far.
So I didn't realize this because I'll be honest, because I don't know nothing. Okay, I didn't have this growing up. My brother did. I was a Sega guy. I had this Master System, the Sega Genesis, but the little door on the top, which I know what it is for now, the expanded memory, this came with it. It has the little red expanded memory, and those things are going up in price.
Yeah.
They're like $40-$50. So on top of this, I not only got the game, the controller, the system, all the pamphlets, the box for $160 out the door.
Oh,
Great deal.
That's a very good deal.
That's why
And it's a great game too. Pod Racer is literally one of the best in 64 games, in my opinion. I know it's getting like a remake. I think it's supposed to come out in May for the PlayStation 4, so I'm excited to get that.
So speaking of the PlayStation, I don't know if you guys saw this or not. I happened to stumble upon that Sony actually released the price of the new PlayStation 5. Did you guys happen to see that?
I hadn't. I heard murmurings of what it was.
$400.
That's it. Like $399.99.
$400. There's no detail on if there's going to be different versions, if there's going to be different teraflops and all that good stuff. But rumor is that Xbox is going to be $500, and they think that Sony's purposely undercutting them because they want to sell more units. And I'm kind of curious what your guys' thoughts are.
Yeah. Well, they priced themselves out initially when they did the PlayStation 3, because I think it was the first console that was $499, if I remember correctly.
Right.
And then Xbox came out and said, "No, we're not doing no $500." So they got their legs cut out from them. And then PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One, I think it was kind of reversed. Sony did this thing where it said, "Hey, we're going to lose money in the beginning of it. Hopefully, sell some more consoles, but hopefully, it makes up in the long run." So it looks like they're probably going to revisit that same strategy just to kind of get out in front of Microsoft, because the specs wise, technically the new Microsoft, what is it, X? I forget what the new console is called. The new Microsoft console, it's technically in all aspects and specs better than this PlayStation 5. So to get out in front of that, you got to take away price or have some exclusive games. And if we don't know anything about the exclusive games yet, you got to. But we do. Oh, okay. Never mind.
No, I was going to add to that because I want you to keep going with that. So my source also told me that the first year to 2 years, PlayStation will have no exclusive games that you can't get on the PlayStation 4.
Well, that sucks.
So do you keep it? Do you upgrade? Do you get it first? Because a lot of people are saying maybe you just stick with the PlayStation 4 and Xbox. I heard a similar rumor that they're going to do the same thing. Maybe you want it because Xbox dropped the price of their Pro version. And I know for a fact my rumor that I heard was correct because RGT85 also said that in one of his videos. He's thinking about going out and buying the Xbox Pro because the same thing, the first year to 2 years, and I don't know if it's due to the pandemic that's going on, that there's not going to be any exclusive titles for the Xbox X, I think you called it, right? Is that
I just remember it was called Project Scarlet. I forget what the official name is. Like I said, I've been
Sure.
so not motivated about this new generation of PlayStation 5 and new X.
I'm with you.
Just because like everything I was hoping, all like the rumors were like PlayStation 5 was going to be backwards compatible from PlayStation 1 all the way to 4. I was like, you can have all my money if you do that. And then they're like, yeah, we're not going to do that. So
they're not doing that. Oh.
No, like as soon as I heard that, that took the wind out of my sails. Then Xbox are like, we're giving you a computer and we're calling it a game console, even though we're selling you a computer tower. And I'm like,
yeah, I was wondering about that because it looks exactly like a PC tower. So, like, what? I don't know. Maybe Xbox people can explain it better. But okay, so you got Microsoft, the Xbox, and then you got your PC, which usually runs off Windows unless you got an Apple computer. But what is
Linux.
the benefit? And Linux, yes. What is the benefit to having an Xbox over a PC when most of the games that come out for the Xbox come out for the PC?
Right.
I've only recently gotten into PC gaming because I only recently had a PC that could actually play modern games. So I've never been a PC gamer, but I never really understood why, someone will get an Xbox when eventually those titles are going to go on your PC, which may run them better on that, on that platform. So, except now, I think with the hardware that's on the newest Xbox, I don't know its name. It's cheap. Wouldn't it be cheaper to get the Xbox than a newer PC for like $1,000 or something? Like the power is there, right? But beyond that, I mean, why get one over a PC?
Well, my only question is, do these new consoles even have media storage? Are they just going with downloadable content? Do we know?
You mean like,
I think I was looking at the Xbox. I don't think it had a DVD drive or anything in it. No,
I hope
myself,
not.
if it doesn't have that, I wouldn't touch it with a.
I was about to say, I cringe. If you go all digital, nope, no, thank you. I don't care.
Yeah,
you can sell it to me for $15, and it's going to be a paperweight. I'm not doing all digital, physical media or nothing.
But could you guys imagine, because the new one's probably going to come out standard 4K, right? I mean, it might have a step up for 8K. Not that we're there yet, but that's, at least in the video world where I'm at, that's the trend right now. 8K. They're talking about 8K TVs around Christmas time this year that are going to be more prominent than like we see 4K TVs. You'll be able to pick one up for $200-$300. That's what scares me, because think about the gigabytes and terabytes of games that you have to download.
Oh, absolutely.
People's internet connection, it'll take them a week to download one game.
Well, yeah. I mean, I just bought Final Fantasy VII Remake for my PlayStation 4, put it in, and it's like a 45-minute load time just to get the game started. I'm like, well, this is awesome.
They're all putting their bets into G5, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
That's what, if that G5 comes and does what they say it's going to do, that won't be a problem.
Right.
But you're going to pay for it. G5 is not going to be the same price as your cable company now. And Doug's already got the best quality cable now. He probably wouldn't want G5.
So I don't know, Doug, if you heard this, but somebody, Nacho Libre in the chat room, he wants to know if the rumor's true with the PS5 being backwards compatible, all the way back to version 1. I did hear a rumor about that, but it's a rumor. It's not necessarily. What do you?
Last I heard, the official thing was it was only going to be backwards compatible to PS4, and that was only partial. It wasn't like all encompassing.
Really?
But yeah, everyone was hoping it was like PlayStation 1 all the way through, and that's what I was excited for, because you could sell that thing to me $4,000 and I'll buy it, because you give me that big of a library to be able to play on one device, absolutely. But apparently that's not the case.
Wow.
I'd love to be wrong. Hopefully something comes out tomorrow and says, Doug's an idiot. 1.5 plays it all.
Are the PS4s backwards compatible?
The thing too, though. Well, but Pat, even what you're saying right there, most people buy Xbox or PlayStation probably also have the 1, 2, 3, and 4 already. So, I mean, me, no. I have an Xbox and I have a PS2, and I have no games for the PS2, which I have PS2. But most of the people have backward compatible anyway. I mean, they already have their old systems, do they not? I mean, it's almost like Yankees and Mets, or the Giants and the Jets. You stick with your team, and you already have all the machines that go with it.
True.
Sometimes. Well, like the PS3. Okay, I got the PS3. I have a PS2, but I got rid of my PS1 a long time ago because my PS2 can play PS1 games. My PS3 can play PS1 games. So I got rid of the PS1, but it wasn't really a selling point for me. It was for the PS2. I like that the PS2 could play PS1 games. But when I got the PS3, it wasn't because I wanted to play my PS1 games on it. But to be able to do that, I mean, even if it's in a digital format, do they allow digital PS1 or PS2 games on PS4? Do they do any of that older stuff?
Yeah, you can buy them through the PlayStation Store and do it that way.
All right. It would be nice to have something you can play your physical media
Yeah.
on, though.
Why buy it once? You can buy it twice.
Oh yeah, I mean Nintendo, they're pros at that. How many times have we bought old Nintendo games through the eShop?
Oh, don't remind me.
More on a mini.
I have it on.
That too.
So we're gonna get into what Patton does. He mentioned the mini, but one thing, like Doug just said about how many, like I bought the Legend of Zelda, the original Nintendo version, just for my 3DS because I wanted to have it portable. Even though I have it on my PC, I have it on CoinOps, I have it on my Act Games, I have it on, you know,
everything. Yeah.
Animal Crossing, I think, has a version of it.
Oh, are you serious?
Not the new one, but like one on 3DS. I think, can't you find like little Nintendo cartridges in the game or something? And one of them you can find is the original Legend of Zelda, and you can play it in Animal Crossing.
They get you coming and going. They really want you to remember that classic.
I wouldn't mind
the games are good, so people want to replay them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how it goes. They get you.
I just played Super Mario Brothers today, just because I had my son.
Awesome.
I do a homeschooling with my kids. So my son, who's 5, who hasn't really started kindergarten yet, I've been playing the Sesame Street games with him in Nintendo. I put it on my NES Classic, and so he does the Sesame Street, ABC 1, 2, 3 games. And when we were taking a break, I started up Mario Brothers just because I felt like playing Mario Brothers.
There you go.
Perfect.
That's my son's first real game was Mario Brothers. Playing it on a tablet though with a little Bluetooth controller. I mean,
either way, raise
that
them
was
right.
the thing. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Well, actually, it might have been. No, it was Mario Brothers. That was the first game he played. It wasn't an Atari game. I didn't torture him with that.
Was it an Apple tablet? Because it worked.
You didn't get EC on Atari?
Nope, it was good old Android version 3, an Asus tablet.
Here we go. So you guys all remember, I don't know, about 10 episodes ago when I got my Super Nintendo Mini, and I started complaining because of the cabling and everything that all these other videos were telling you about, and hakchi and all this other stuff. I'm watching these videos of well-known YouTubers that are telling me, get this version, do this, get this cable. I ended up, Patton, what did I tell you? I bought like 8 different cables and none of them worked. And you're like, well, send me screenshots and stuff of this. So before that, you must have tuned into one of these shows. You saw it. He emails me out of the kindness of his heart. He says, I'll help you out. He says, let's figure this out. Here I find out I'm running the wrong version of hakchi, which is why the stupid cable wasn't working, right? So he ends up telling me this. Get it working and everything. I said, dude, you need to come on the show. I said, you need to come on here and talk to everyone. And I watched his videos.
Took 10 episodes later. Took 10 episodes.
Yeah, well, his schedule didn't quite, yeah. Well, his schedule didn't line up. So, but anyways, he's here. So, Patton, why don't you tell everybody that may not know you, if they were like me and lived under a rock, about what kind of videos you're doing right now and your transition, because you're kind of like me in this sense where I wanted to keep the minis, but now I'm kind of thinking maybe let's go deeper.
Yeah, mainly on my channel. When I first started, I specialized in modding all the mini systems in Nintendo. I think the SNES Classic was just coming out when I started making the videos. And literally the only reason I started everything, it wasn't to have a channel. It was because somebody wanted a video, how do I do this, on, what was it, GBA Temp. It was the GBA Temp forums where the new hakchi was coming out. And, there were a lot of written guides, but somebody said, I do a lot better if someone would make a video. So I just hooked up my PC real quick. I did a real quick little tutorial, and everybody's like, oh, that's great. Well, what about adding new games? So I did another one, and now I just kept doing more and more, and it ended up, growing the channel to where it's at now. But yeah, I still do the mini stuff. I don't do as much just because it's been out. It's almost 3 years now. I think these systems have been out. I think it's a little over 3 years. So there's only so much you can keep telling people how to do it before everybody knows how to do it. There's no more to teach, until like a new mini system comes out. So like, when the Genesis came out, more tutorials came out. Once the TurboGrafx 16 is out, more tutorials will come out for that. But the content, slows down. So, I like to try and find different things to talk about, like I started game hunting for the original stuff. So I get, original Nintendo, Super Nintendo games, Genesis, and, I got the new Legends Arcade Ultimate, which I love so freaking much. So I've been trying to do a couple videos on that, a live stream on that. So I'm spread out a little bit, but I still the minis still are very, very special to me. And although the content's slowing down, I'm moving to other stuff. I still love working with them, and my kids love the minis. They kind of get the original, the physical media, but the minis are just like so much easier for them to use, especially they're not used to the putting in games and powering on. It's just turn it on. It's like the game and play. So it's really awesome for the kids. They love it. It's a really good way for them to get into those older games, even though they're hard as nails for them. They don't get why they can't just keep playing after they die a few times.
That's a good idea. Maybe after I get all the original consoles, I'll take the other ones up to my 7-year-old's room and say, "Here you go. You got a bunch of new mini consoles that you could play, and then it'll make some room down here for me." I like that idea. That's smart thinking.
And that way they're not handling your expensive, original, cartridges and stuff like that.
No, it's funny you say that, because that with the Saturn, Glenn, you and I were talking about, that's why you helped me, hack that up, because I said to Glenn, I'm like, I don't want my 7-year-old handling these. I mean, you're paying $50 like what they normally cost years ago. And like Glenn's like, they're not going to last forever. So making copies of them, this way, if he puts in the copy and it scratches, I'll copy another one, Mm-hmm. That's my biggest fear. Even I've been taking the Nintendo 64 games out of their box, because I bought them complete in the boxes. Not perfect. It's not gradable. But just leaving the game sit so they're not opening and closing the boxes all the time and ruining the cardboard. I mean,
ripping the ends off those boxes.
Yeah. I know they're not perfect, but I'm trying to preserve it as best as I can. It's just fun.
And stuff like that's what I've been getting into. Like when the minis came out, it was a big nostalgia trip for me. Seeing a actual little Nintendo, with the controller, the original controller, pretty much the original controller. Brought back a ton, nostalgia just hit me hard. And then when I started going to these like actual retro game stores, I was like, it's a different feeling than when using the minis. And a lot of people don't, not disagree with it, but they don't understand it either, because they weren't around for the original games, or they don't see the point. Why are you spending, $15 on a game when that's half the price of a PlayStation Classic, when you can get all these games and better games. But it's just a feeling. It's hard to explain, what that feeling brings to have an original cartridge in your hand and putting it in a system and powering it on. It's just something different.
This is what you tell them.
We were talking about that before. Because there's all these multi-carts, and I generally want the hardware and I buy a multi-cart, but there is an intangible feeling of having that original game and putting it in the cartridge or sliding it into the Nintendo. It's just a different feeling, and it's hard to explain. And I think it has something to do with nostalgia of putting the game in there, because today you can play them on a Raspberry Pi, you can play them on your PC. Mm-hmm. You can buy a multi-cart, put 4,000 games on one cartridge, never take it out. But it's just something weird about putting that original game in and seeing it fired up. It's weird, but you're right.
That's what I was going to say. You tell everybody to go look at Glenn's room and go look at Metal Jesus Rocks, and you'll understand why we all want the physical.
Yes, and I haven't bought an original physical cartridge or anything it's been close to 20 years now. So when I actually had one in my hand, I was like, oh, this is something different. So like I almost got like addicted to it. Not addicted, but I just wanted to keep going. And the only thing that I'm kind of not really going to get into, I don't think I'm going to get original consoles. I might, but it might be like way later. So like I'm kind of trying more for the clone console route.
Oh, give it time.
Yeah, I know. But I did try. I just did a review on the what is it, the Classic 2 HD, and I thought, and I said this in the review, I thought I was more casual about the games. But as soon as I heard how those games sounded with that system, I'm like, I can't do this. Like even I just couldn't do it. So I think you guys were talking about the FPGA before. Like
Like the
I
Mister.
think, yeah, the Mister or what is it, the retro USB AVS or the analog systems. I think those are all FPGA systems. I think I'm gonna have to put some dough in and actually go the hardcore route on those.
Well, I think we talked about that again before. I think that is the ultimate future for all these. The original machines are going to start breaking down, and we're going
Yes,
to
and
need
that
people
was
to recreate
right.
them this way.
Yeah, that was another one of the reasons I didn't want to get like an original Nintendo, Super Nintendo, because they will start breaking down. You know, I mean, they've been out how long? Over 30 years now.
Mhm.
That's 30-year-old tech. That's a very old time, and eventually there's not going to be anything you can do to that until you turn into like a Frankenstein. And at that point, it's not going to be an original Nintendo anymore. You're going to make so many adaptations to it to try and make it work that you've completely changed the system.
Well, I'll definitely say, and you bet me on this one, that the old Atari, the old Nintendos, up until like the SNES or even N64 probably, the TurboGrafx 16, the Sega Genesis, they're going to well outlast the Xboxes and the PlayStation 4s and 5s because those new machines, they just burn out just looking at them. These old machines, they lasted. The old Atari, that was made in 1977. They still work. The Sega Master Systems, they still work. Sega Genesis, they work. The technology is a little bit simpler. They run cooler. These new high-tech machines you're spending hundreds of dollars on die in 6 months.
Yeah, what was it? The Xbox 360 had a 10% failure rate, which was like at the time one of the highest electronic failure rates in human history of any device, let alone a game device.
I don't know about that. I'm going to bring up the Coleco Atom on that one. That was
but all right. How many people bought the Coleco Atom versus how many people
a lot.
bought
The problem is the return rate was like 99%. So a lot of people bought it and they all went back. And then Coleco went, bye.
Yeah. But to your point, Glenn, stuff was made better back then than it is now. Like the old Nokia cell phones that you could run over with a tank and still call and play Snake on it 5 minutes later versus your iPhone. If you sneeze, you break the glass, so.
That's right, ladies. Remember that. The older is the better. Okay, just saying.
It's like a fine wine, aged to perfection.
Yeah, I don't know if that counts with electronics. I wouldn't want a Nokia today.
That's, that was the scary part when I started thinking about buying these consoles was I buy all this stuff and then let's say the Super Nintendo or the Nintendo 64 just dies on me. Then what? But everything so far is retaining its value. Actually, the value is going up on certain things. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. It's kind of like how I was with the arcade games from Arcade 1-Up. I just kept building and building until I ran out of room. And now it's like I want to collect something that works. And stuff that I didn't have as a kid. I mean, Doug, we talked about this on previous episodes. Like, I didn't have a Nintendo 64 as a kid. My brother did. And, when we were young kids, it's like, you're not touching it. It's my system, So I didn't really get to play it. So last night I was playing it. My wife actually helped me through the first 2 levels of Mario because I didn't understand that. I was just trying to beat the level. I didn't understand that you had to go through and get the different stars and get, it's because I never had it, Yeah,
you're playing it like an old Mario. You're just like,
I'm looking for warp zones and, and stuff. And apparently there is some. But, so last night I played it. I got 12 stars in the first 2 levels. And she's telling me to go into Boo's Castle. And I'm getting lost in there. And I was getting frustrated. And I'm going, but it's cool because it's a new memory being made, right? So I can look back when I have grandkids and say, me and your grandma used to sit here and play this. And it sounds funny now, but it's just my son come down. He wants to play it like it's like a new world to him. Like he's just, I mean, he's all about Fortnite. Don't get me wrong, but he's all about this too. Like he wants to, like, Dad, what kind of games can you get for this? I mean, that's what he's asking.
Some good ones. Pull up a chair, son. Let me tell you a little thing called Rainbow Road.
That's funny you mentioned that because I hooked up one of the blasts, the Atari blasts, the one with the twisting controllers, the paddle controllers, and there's a game on there called Save Mary, and it's just a game where you lower some boxes down onto a platform and this girl at the bottom, she climbs up. My 8-year-old at the time loved that game. She couldn't get enough of it, and it was that one in like Cannonball, I think, where you shoot a guy and you're trying to shoot him through the ring. Every time through into a basket or something, and if you miss, he crumbles down. And she was cracking up, and we played Pong for like an hour. It was insane. These kids love these older games.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that they've embraced it like they did, and hear your kids do it. And I don't know. One thing that kind of my son asked me the other day was, we went to the store and you were talking about this consoles that play the multiple games, like you can get one for the Retrons and stuff. And my son was like, so how comes they don't have one for a TurboGrafx 16? And I was kind of like,
They got one.
That's interesting.
As far as I know.
Do they have one?
Yeah, the Retro Freak. It's an emulation clone console. It'll play TurboGrafx 16. What are the cards? You got the Hue card?
Yeah, the Hue cards.
Supergraphics? There's 3 kinds of cards, right, Glenn?
Yeah, you have the PC Engine, which is also the TurboGrafx, and the Core graphics. Then there's the SuperGrafx, and then you have CD-ROM. So you have 2 different types of cards, and then the CD. With the CD, you have the regular, then you have the arcade card, and you got the enhanced card. So there's like 3 different of those.
And it'll play it?
I think it's the Retro Freak will play the card types. And then the Polymega, which I don't know if did it just come out or it's coming out.
It's coming out.
Okay, that can play
CDs
the
right now.
Yeah, and the old TurboGrafx games with the add-on. So that's also an emulation one. So it doesn't actually play, the things that just dumps the ROM, plays it from the system.
And this is
Correct.
the part where Glenn tells us he has 3 on pre-order or 3 ordered,
No.
and he's got 5 in the back.
No, that one doesn't interest me at all. The Polymega does not interest me at all. I know a lot of people are excited about it. It doesn't interest me at all. It's basically an emulation box. I mean, I have no interest in those myself. I want the original hardware, or to use a PC or Raspberry Pi at that point and 3D print a case. I don't have any interest in those type of machines at all. It doesn't even look that attractive to me. I know I was watching a couple of videos on YouTube, and apparently it's got very good Sega Saturn emulation coming out from the get-go, PlayStation emulation good at the get-go. It's got a lot of themes that are coming out for it, but I myself have no interest in it at all.
But
only system with Sega Saturn emulation, I think.
But
right. Sega Saturn.
But what about like if you have an original console and you didn't want to play it and you wanted to, keep its life, and you could buy not an emulated, but one of those multiple input boxes like we're talking about with the Retron to play the Hue cards. I mean, you said a couple weeks ago that even if you put the ROMs on one of the Mega Drives or whatever,
right,
and put it in there, that it would play just like the original game.
Right.
So wouldn't you want to do something like that to preserve your console and then just buy
no.
No?
Nope,
Well, no,
I would at that nope. If I can if I could use a flash card in original hardware, I'm cool with that. To me, that's cool. After that, I'll just use a ROM and emulation on a PC.
Don't you have like 50 consoles, so you'll never run out of... they'll never go bad, because when one goes bad, you just hook up the next one.
Yeah, he does, but normal people don't.
Yes.
He does, but
also,
normal people
another
don't.
thing, though, really, honestly, is the older machines, when they do break, generally they're easy to fix. Once you start getting to maybe the Super Nintendo, not as much. But before that, unless the actual chip is fried, it's usually a capacitor that went bad or a bad solder joint. Usually it's got to be cleaned. These old ones are that robust, so they will fail eventually. I'll probably fail. I'm guaranteeing I'm probably going to fail before these systems fail around here. And then my son will simply just take them and throw them in the garbage because Dad, get rid of them that way. But I don't know. For me, if I can't use the original cartridge or an EverDrive in original hardware, I'm just fine with using a PC and just throwing it up on the machine and playing it that way. Because honestly, for me, I know I'm different than a lot of people. Well, okay, we all know I'm different than a lot of people. The point I was just trying to make is I'm more about like the hardware architecture, how the thing kind of works. I play the games, and as you guys know, I suck at quite a few of the games, but I'm not really into it for that. I'm into for just the technology, these engineers who sat down and made it work or found ways to make it really inexpensive, or it wasn't expensive, it made you pay a high price for it. That's where it gets it for me. And I always, when I play these games, another thing I tend to do is when I watch a movie, I kind of throw myself back into that time frame. When I'm playing my Atari or Pong, I'm not thinking I'm in 2020 playing that game. I'm putting myself back when that machine first came out. What would it have felt like sitting down there for the first time, coming home from Sears, in '74, connected to your TV set, and how that was. To me, that's kind of the experience for me. I know a lot of people just want to play the games. They want to experience the games. They want to have instant, gameplay. I'm different as far as that goes. That's why I don't need to collect the actual cartridges. I want to collect the actual machines to open them up and see how it was laid out, how they made things work. And if they're broke, I love getting them broke. So I like trying to fix them. I'm weird.
I'm with
I know.
you. No, I'm with you.
Thank you, Pat.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah, because actually, when when I was just doing the mini stuff and I wasn't doing the game hunting stuff, people were like, "What's the point in hacking these minis when you can just buy a Raspberry Pi?" So the argument was, well, a Raspberry Pi doesn't have the feeling. There's nothing. It's just a computer you're playing your games on. With a mini, you have the actual controller. You have the system. It's just a mini version, but it's the nostalgia. It's bringing you back to the time where you used to play this as a kid. Raspberry Pis didn't exist when I was 5, 6 years old. So it's all about the feeling, and a lot of people don't get that. They just, like you said, they want that instant, just sit down, turn it on, and play.
It's that sunshine in your pocket. I'll spare everybody. Hey, Zohar in the YouTube chat room gave a super chat, said, "I just want to say I love everyone. Stay safe."
Good. Hope everyone's staying safe out there, because it's a crazy world we're living in.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
It still feels weird. It's just weird. This whole year, I thought 2019 was a bad year, and 2020 says, "Oh no, bitch, you ain't seen nothing yet." And
I mean, they canceled San Diego Comic-Con today.
Yeah, they canceled it. Yep, sure did.
I mean, honestly, I was surprised it took them this long, but like, it's a weird, eerie, Walking Dead world that we live in.
But the future's looking better, because I mean, it looks like some places are going to be opening up very shortly. I know our state sounds like it's going to be one of them.
Christmas is canceled. Telling you right now. Christmas is canceled.
So before we get to wrap things up, I did want to share a tip kind of thing. I want to stress that I am not a pro modder at any of this stuff, but I do know how to mod these arcade 1-up cabinets, and anybody that's watched videos knows that you can pretty much do it if you can follow simple instructions. So my brother was over here last week, and he came out like he does yearly, helping me with some stuff in the house, like putting lights in the shower where we didn't have any. And he had bought this Marvel cabinet from Arcade 1-Up, and our good friend Angel made him a lighted marquee that we put on. He bought everything that I told him to buy. And I want to draw everybody's attention to the back here of the monitor. So when I put this out, everybody kind of went after me and said that you really shouldn't put that on the monitor, which I knew, because you could fry it. Now, if anybody's taken apart the new Arcade 1-Ups, you realize that the wires are not as long as the ones in the original Street Fighter cabinets that we all have been modding. So I was like, dang it, now how the heck am I going to get it down there on the board where everything else is, the Pi is and everything? So since he was traveling back with this and we put it together out here, I put duct tape on the wires to hold everything. Well, it's actually Gorilla Tape to hold everything on the sides. But what I did was I took industrial strength Velcro and put it down on the monitor, because normally you would ground that wire, the black wire that you can see off to the left, to the actual board for the LCD. But Arcade 1-Up, what they do is they actually, on the new versions, they ground it right to the monitor. So you can kind of see I left that ground wire there and just put the Velcro in between it, and it's keeping it's keeping it from hurting it, right? But I wanted to tell people, so you don't run into, if you can't do that, if you're unable to don't pull those wires and rip them out. Stick them in the back. Yeah, stick them in the back. You're going to be fine. He was running it, and he was one also that was saying, to me, my daughter and him were playing it to test all the different ROMs out, but he was saying the same thing, like, hey, this is awesome. And he told me his stepson was playing. They played Tecmo Super Bowl. They played Turtles and The Simpsons, and my brother's like, you just made a kid happy. And again, it's Raspberry Pi, but even him, he was like, man, I remember when we used to play this. We'd sneak down after we went to bed, and we'd be playing off-road, and, those are the types of things that, right. But after playing that and going to a cartridge Patton, it's just like, I want the cartridge. Yeah. I want the cartridge. I'm sorry. It sounds weird, but I understand it. I understand more now, even with the whole emulation and the differences with it. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there. I thought it was a cool little, I said to him, I said, we're not supposed to put this on the monitor. And he goes, well, let's try it. So that's what we did. So anyways, there's that.
Another thing real quick, I'll add to that, because you didn't put tape there. There's a thing called Kapton tape. And if you ever open up any electronics, you see it's like a yellow transparent tape. That's Kapton tape. And if you put that over in the back, that also prevents any type of shorting. But again, all the machines that I've modded, I'm going to be honest, I use regular like 17-inch HP or Zenith monitors, whatever I have lying around. And as long as you have the thick enough double-sided tape or double-sided Velcro, you're not going to have a problem. It's not going to short out. So I do it all the time. And nothing's blown up in here yet.
Sure. Now he tells me after I'm sitting there like, I'm feeling bad because it's my brother's. I'm like, I don't know. I put it on the wood. The other ones I've done, I put it on the wood for friends and stuff.
No. Yeah, those new BOE monitors, they have that short LVDS cable, so you can't really stretch it all the way down to the wood. So, I mean, on my cocktail cabinet, mine is literally ghetto rigged with some cardboard in between, mainly just because I'm going to replace the monitor anyway. But yeah, as long as you put something in between, you'll be all right.
Well, another thing you could do. I'm sorry, real quick.
You're fine. You're fine.
When you go to the store and you get the paint sticks,
yeah.
You can also mount it to that and then mount that inside the monitor as well. So there's all things you could do. It's thin. It'll protect and insulate it. You can do that as well.
Good old popsicle sticks.
That's it.
Well, it was his, and I didn't want it ruining it, and I had to think of something that I could put in there that was going to stay in its travels home in the back of a truck for 6 hours. So that was kind of the logic there, but it seemed to work. But I think I wanted to bring that because, like I said, there was a lot of people that were messaging me going, "You really shouldn't do that." It wasn't like they were yelling at me or anything, but and I said, well, no, it's actually fine. I mean, I was touching the monitor even with it on. It wasn't zapping me or anything like that. So
that's always a good test.
Hey, I figured I'm putting it together. I wasn't going to let him get zapped with it, right? I would do that, but he did like the Legends Ultimate. I know, Patton, you just got done saying like you're in love with that, with the
Legends Ultimate.
all these cores are coming out. The Sega CDs are going on. I don't know if you guys have done that.
I've done a ton of that on the minis and on my PC, and I just recently found, I didn't know that was a new thing. I just figured that there had always been a core for it. I had no idea. So there were actually a couple questions on the ALU or the At Games Discord. Someone was like, my Sega CD games aren't working, so I was like, well, did you put the BIOS in it? And hey,
and the contents
already troubleshooting. Yeah.
Well, I broke the cardinal rule. I put TurboGrafx on that, and I put the Sega CD, so I'm equal. I'm in the middle.
And on that note, to Doug, I don't know if you saw my last video I did when I reviewed these. I admitted something. I did see that. You did. Okay, so what I basically said was, I'm glad you saw it, was that there is a version of Space Harrier on the PC Engine and the TurboGrafx 16. And of course, it was a home console you could do on the Genesis. And it's horrible. I mean, I think it was horrible on the TurboGrafx 16. Why did they put that on there as to showcase the game? The frame rate I thought was bad. The scaling I thought was bad. The music was just, and the Genesis absolutely trounced it there. So, Doug, I want to give you that one kudos for that.
Because I think
take that one small victory.
I think that was on the Genesis Mini too, Space Harrier.
It was.
I didn't like that.
It's so much better.
I thought the TurboGrafx 16 mini version was better.
Oh, here we go.
Get words.
I mean, neither of them touched the arcade version, but I specifically remember playing the Genesis mini version, and I was like, I didn't like that. But when I pulled it up on the TurboGrafx 16 mini, I was like, oh, well, this is better than the one on the Genesis. But I don't know, maybe I was just...
Try it one more time. I'm telling you, I was just like, I was disappointed. I was really disappointed that they threw that on there. To me, that was the lowest point of the console was that game.
Yeah, that one didn't translate good to any home console.
32X, not too bad.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, we're going to have to wrap this up and go into post-show. And if you want to stick around, we've got a new way for you guys to interact in the post-show. And you got to stick around for the post-show to see how to do that. But we want to thank our special guest here, Patton Plays. If you want to give a plug of where to find you and check out all your good stuff.
Sure thing. Well, first, thank you for having me on the show. I really appreciate it. But yeah, if you guys are interested in doing any kind of not just mini mods on your system, console reviews, game collecting, more like game hunting, or arcade stuff, just find me on Patton Plays on YouTube. I also have a Facebook page. I got a Twitter, and I do have a Discord that you can find me on. So if you're interested in mostly retro stuff, not all retro stuff, but yeah, come find me.
Awesome. Awesome. Also, Mr. Douglas Smith, youtube.com/COOLTOY. Go check out some of his new videos. And you just put up one about your cocktail cabinet. And what else you got going on?
Yeah, so I got some books, so that's gonna be weird. People are gonna be like, "What? You're gonna review books? What is it?" But no, I got some interesting books that people might be fond of if they like retro games and things like that. That I'm gonna be talking about very soon. I'll have more updates on that cocktail cabinet because I can't stop tinkering with it. But yeah, that's what I got in the works.
Well, and you've got a new series that you're doing weekly for At Games as well.
Yeah. For At Games, I'm doing a little tutorial session video series with them. Every Sunday at noon is a new video for the next long time. So
foreseeable future.
Yeah, foreseeable future. But hopefully that helps newcomers, new users out there that, because some of our videos in the past, they get bogged down in the YouTube algorithm and it's hard to find those. So hopefully these new videos help out new users and people discover new things and all the functionality and features that their Legends Ultimate Arcade offers them.
Awesome.
That was a lot in a breath.
Woo. He did.
That was a lot.
He did. He was turning blue. Did you see it?
Yeah.
I did.
And we've got Mr. Glenn Planamento. He's holding something. What's he holding?
I want to give a shout out to Richie Knuckles. I got my DVD. I think you got yours too, did you not?
I did, yes.
Cough, cough, still haven't got mine.
Not yet.
Wow, man. There's no love for the cool toy.
It's all right.
You better send him a message because he might have not got your address.
Yeah, I'll double check it.
Yeah. Very cool. You guys can check out Glenn, youtube.com/Glenn's Retro Show, as well as he is the owner of a lot of the, I'm not going down the line, Glenn, of all the
Amazon of Facebook groups.
The groups. Go check them out. And guys, we really appreciate it. Go subscribe to the show. You can find everything out on the web. We're just about everywhere your favorite podcast is. iTunes, Google Play, Pandora, all that good stuff for video and audio. If you don't want the video and you just want to listen to the banter, you can download the audio. But we really appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week for more here of the Retro Buzz. And for those that are still here, stay tuned for the post show. We'll see you next week.